Welcome back to the Flix tutorial series. This lesson covers the round-trip workflow between Flix and Adobe Premiere. First, you need to make sure that Premiere is your default editorial tool. Go to Preferences, Third-Party Apps. Under General, go to the Editorial Tool drop-down menu and select Adobe Premiere. In the Published Directory section, click Browse and select a folder. This is where your published XML files and exported assets from Flix will be stored. These settings can be enforced at both the studio level or the show level. To learn more, watch the dedicated video on Settings and Preferences. The link is in the description. When your sequence is ready to send to editorial, click on the Publish to Editorial button. Enter a comment if needed. This appears in the email notification. Click Publish and Flix creates two XML files and a folder containing the assets from your sequence. One XML has the suffix all. The all.xml references all the panels in the sequence. The second XML has the suffix new because it references only assets for panels that are being published to editorial for the first time. Importing your Flix XML is really easy with Premiere because you don't have to set up a project with specific video settings that match those in Flix. Open the folder containing your XML files. This Assets folder contains PNG files that your XMLs reference. These PNGs are set to 1920 by 1080 resolution, regardless of your Flix project's actual aspect ratio. If, for example, your project's aspect ratio is 2.39 to 1, the assets are still presented in 16 to 9. But with a mask, like this. Now simply drag the XML into a bin. Premiere creates a sequence based on the timing set in Flix. New clips are highlighted by default, but you can turn that setting off in Flix. Let's say I make a change to my sequence in Flix and export another XML. I can simply import the updated all.xml and Premiere creates a new sequence. But I may want to compare the new clips to the previous sequence, so I can import the new.xml, which references only the clips I've changed, and creates a sequence containing only those clips. Now I add a video track and copy in the old sequence, so I can compare the changes easily. To send your sequence back to Flix, you have to create both an XML file and a reference QuickTime movie of your sequence. To create the XML, go to File, Export, Final Cut Pro XML. Navigate to a folder and click Save. Now to create the reference movie, go to File, Export Media. Choose a codec that uses the QuickTime wrapper. Double-check the settings match the frame rate and aspect ratio of your Flix sequence, and choose a folder to save your movie file. Obviously, it's a good idea to save it in the same folder you saved your XML file. Now click Export. To bring the updated sequence into Flix from Editorial, go up to the Revisions page and click on Editorial. You need to point Flix to both the XML file and the reference movie. Click Browse and you can simply select both files from here. Let's say the editor has added a resize effect on this panel to simulate a camera move. This drop-down allows you to choose how to handle effects from editorial. For example, if I want to retain the camera move effect, I choose Render All Frames here. If I don't want Flix to render that effect and just relink to the original panel instead, I select Ignore Effects. Otherwise, I can choose between Render All Frames or Hold Middle Frame, depending on whether I want all the frames to be rendered for the clips with effects, or just have a single frame representing it in Flix. When this has been decided, enter a comment if you want, and click Import. You can see what's changed here in the import logs. That entry refers to the clip the editor put the effect on. Here is the new sequence revision created by importing the XML and movie file. I know that because it has a tick in the From Editorial column. The comment appears here. Here is the panel with the resize effect. I can tell because Flix has put the ref icon on it. So I can see at a glance that it's been created in editorial, and that it is an animated panel. Story artists can always retrieve a previous version of the panel from here in the revisions column. Click the thumbnail to replace the animated panel with a previous version. Or click on the Photoshop icon to open the panel for editing in Photoshop. So that covers the basic round trip between Flix and Adobe Premiere. Thanks for watching.